What if your greatest failure wasn't the end of your story, but the place where it begins again? What if the moment you regret the most is the very moment that can be restored? What if love, not perfection, is the only thing that truly matters? In the final scene of the Gospel of John, we witness one of the most personal and transformative conversations in the life of Jesus Christ. It takes place not in a crowd, not in a temple, but by the sea, after a quiet breakfast. The moment feels calm, but beneath the surface, something deep is about to unfold. Jesus turns to Simon Peter. This is significant, because Peter carries a weight. Not long before this, he had denied Jesus 3 times. 3 moments, 3 choices, 3 failures that echo in his memory. And now, standing in the presence of Jesus again, that history has not disappeared. It lingers. It matters. Jesus asks him a question. Simon, son of John, do you love me more than these? It's a simple question, but it goes straight to the heart. Peter responds, yes, Lord, you know that I love you. Jesus replies, feed my lambs. Then Jesus asks again, Simon, son of John, do you love me? Peter answers the same way, yes, Lord, you know that I love you. Jesus says, tend my sheep. And then, a 3rd time, Simon, son of John, do you love me? This time, something changes. Peter is grieved, not just because of the repetition, but because of what it reminds him of. 3 questions, echoing 3 denials. The connection is clear. The past is being brought into the present, not to condemn, but to restore. Peter responds, Lord, you know everything. You know that I love you. And Jesus says, feed my sheep. This exchange is powerful on many levels. First, it shows that Jesus does not ignore Peter's failure. He addresses it, but not by accusing, not by listing mistakes. Instead, he asks about love. He brings the focus back to relationship, not performance, not past actions, but present devotion. This is important because it reframes how restoration works. It is not about replaying the failure. It is about re-establishing the connection. Each question is not just repetition, it is restoration. Each response is not just an answer, it is a step forward. And each instruction, feed my lambs, tend my sheep, feed my sheep, points to something beyond the moment. Responsibility, purpose, calling. Peter is not just forgiven. He is entrusted, given a role, a mission, a future. This shows that restoration is not passive. It leads to action. It moves forward. It transforms. The fact that Jesus asks 3 times is not accidental. It mirrors Peter's 3 denials. But instead of leaving him defined by those denials, it allows him to move beyond them. Each yes becomes a counter to each no. Each expression of love replaces a moment of fear. And in that process, Peter is not just restored, he is strengthened. There is also a subtle shift in the language of love in this passage, which many have reflected on. But even without focusing on those details, the core message remains clear. Jesus meets Peter where he is. He does not demand a perfect answer. He receives what Peter offers, and he responds with trust. That is powerful, because it shows that restoration is not based on perfection. It is based on relationship, on willingness, on response. After this exchange, Jesus speaks to Peter about his future. He tells him that there will come a time when he will be led where he does not want to go, a reference to the kind of death by which Peter would glorify God. This is a difficult statement, but it also carries meaning. It shows that following Jesus is not always easy. It involves sacrifice, it involves surrender, it involves trust, even in uncertainty. And then Jesus says something simple: follow me. This is the same call that began Peter's journey. Now, after everything, after the failures, the doubts, the restoration, the call remains the same: follow me. This continuity is important. It shows that the foundation has not changed. The relationship continues. The journey moves forward. But Peter, like many of us, looks around. He sees another disciple, the one whom Jesus loved, and asks, Lord, what about this man? It's a natural question, a comparison, a curiosity about someone else's path. But Jesus responds in a way that redirects Peter's focus. If it is my will that he remain until I come, what is that to you? You follow me. This is a powerful correction. It brings Peter back to what matters. Not comparison, not speculation, but personal responsibility, personal calling, personal relationship. Follow me. This moment speaks directly to a common human tendency, to look at others, to compare paths, to question why things are different. But Jesus makes it clear, each person's journey is unique, each calling is specific, and the focus should remain on following, not comparing, not questioning others, but responding personally. The passage then closes with a reflection. John writes that there are many other things that Jesus did, so many that if they were all written down, the world itself could not contain the books. This brings us back to something we've seen before. The idea that what is recorded is intentional, chosen, focused, and that even what we have is just a glimpse of something greater. The story of Peter's restoration is not just about him. It is about what restoration looks like, what it means, how it happens. It shows that failure is not final, that denial does not define the end, that love can be restored, that purpose can be renewed, and that following is always possible, no matter what has come before. Peter's journey is deeply human. He was confident, then afraid. He made bold promises, then denied them. He failed, then was restored. And through it all, he was not abandoned. He was met, called, restored, sent. This offers a powerful message, because it means that mistakes do not erase calling. Failure does not cancel purpose, and the past does not have to define the future. What matters is the response, the willingness to engage, to answer the question, "Do you love me?" This question goes beyond Peter. It reaches anyone who hears it, because it is not about perfection. It is about relationship. It is about what is at the center, and from that center flows everything else. Action, purpose, direction, following. The repetition of the question also shows patience. Jesus does not rush the process. He allows space. He allows Peter to respond fully, to feel, to engage, to move through the moment, and that patience is part of the restoration. It is not forced, it is not hurried, it is intentional, and it leads to clarity. Peter knows where he stands, he knows what he is called to do, and he knows what matters most. Follow me. This simple instruction carries everything. It is not complicated, but it is not easy either. It requires trust, commitment, focus. It requires letting go of comparison, of distraction, of past failure, and choosing to move forward. The scene by the sea after the miraculous catch becomes a place of new beginning. Not dramatic, not overwhelming, but deeply meaningful. A conversation, a question, a response, and a renewed path. It shows that transformation often happens in quiet moments, in personal exchanges, in spaces where honesty meets grace. And that is what makes this passage so powerful. It does not present restoration as distant or unreachable. It shows it as real, as possible, as personal. Peter's story continues beyond this moment. But this scene marks a turning point, a moment where failure is addressed, love is affirmed, purpose is given, and direction is clear. Follow me. And perhaps that is the invitation for anyone reflecting on this story, not to focus only on the past, not to remain in failure, but to respond to the present, to engage with the question, to consider the call, and to take the next step, whatever that may look like. Because the story is not over, it continues in each response, in each decision, in each step forward. Thank you for watching this video. If this message has spoken to you or encouraged your heart, don't forget to like, follow the channel, and share this video with others who may need to hear it.